Hello and welcome to All Around the Campfire. I am your host Zen, and
Hello, I go by many names, but you call me Stead, or Major Steadman, or Vicar even, if you're from the north.
my boy Vicar. Right, we decided we wanted to make this podcast because, well, we want to talk politics, essentially, but not quite as much politics as most people. Most people will, they'll do a political podcast and they'll be like, right, what's happened this week? What things have been going on? Let's comment on what is happening in the day. We don't want to go quite so limiting in that, because everyone's doing that. Everyone does that. Anyone who picks up a camera can do that. We wanted to more talk about kind of like more ground level things. Not ground level. That's a terrible way to say it. Foundational. We want to talk about more foundational.
Down to earth, perhaps?
No, not quite. No, that's the thing is that would be down to earth. No, foundational things. Not something that is only relevant right now, but something that is always going to be relevant when you are discussing these kinds of things. I want to talk about one thing we've got lined up is an episode where we break down lots and lots of political terminology so that newcomers to sort of like political discussion can have like just a quick cheat sheet of what all this stuff means. Because a lot of times you'll be watching a video and they'll suddenly just break out into, and the partisan politics and the Overton window and the foundational economics. It's like, whoa, what does all of that mean? So we're probably going to do an episode on that. That's the kind of thing we want to do, and we want to talk about the really always going to be relevant stuff. But this pilot episode, it's mostly just going to be us introducing ourselves and trying to get across what our shit is. So, I suppose I'll start. I'm Zen.
Yes, and I'm Vicar, or Stead. I go by many names. I'm a man of mystery.
I'm Zen, and my whole thing is I piss everyone off.
Yes, you do. Much to the chagrin of his many viewers on his many platforms. Yes, I'm Stead, once again. Been a relatively long-time fan of Zen's work. Otherwise I just, I don't do much content creation. I've been too busy with various kinds of different work in the real world, so I can't be terminally online, as some people can.
When people often say, that in a very basic way, there are three kinds of people in politics. There's the left wing, the right wing, and the centrist. And obviously that always changes throughout time. But I don't click with anyone. And because I always have to, I think this was my old Twitter description. It might still be, actually. Which is that I'm not a centrist because I have no opinions. I'm a centrist because I have a lot of opinions. Which means that no matter who I hang out with, I'm going to piss them off with something. It makes it very interesting the kind of people who let me stick around.
Yeah.
So people like AA would not be able to tolerate me in their presence. Even if I wasn't going out of my way to piss him off. But then there's like, there's people like Vicar and people like...
Who's that? This AA character? Who is this person?
Oh, we do not speak of this poisonous, toxic individual.
The shadowy agent of academia.
An ex-agent of academia who's no longer in that
yes.
field.
Well, as the adage goes, once an academic, always an academic.
Very true, very true. But then you get people like Harrion who are quite accepting of my tendencies.
Yeah, in a manner of speaking.
But yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna go with a kind of like a broad range of things, I'm generally agreeing with the right wing when it comes to things that are actually political. But then when they start getting into the culture stuff, I tend to swing a lot more left wing.
Yeah.
If we're going with like, probably it may be fair to say stereotypes here. But you get a lot of right wing kind of stuff where it's like, oh no, gay characters in media, and I'm just like, okay, but does it matter? And a lot of times it doesn't, in my opinion. oh no, the lessons they're teaching our children. Like, there's been a thing lately where the right wing seems to get very pissy that people don't click with their blood relatives. And I'm just like, yeah, sometimes your blood relatives are dickheads. I'm shocked that this is a hot take, but amongst certain circles it is.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's one thing I've learned, is that everything's a hot take with someone.
Well, yeah, that is true. Even mundane takes, especially in this day and age of the internet, even mundane takes will get at least one person really annoyed by you.
Yeah. Do you want to go for it then? Try and
in terms
yourself a bit?
In terms of framing, what sort of my kind of, again, it's like the broad kind of opening to end all broad openings. I guess I'd say in terms of just like identification labels, to put it very simply, I've always had trouble sort of defining where I stand in terms of political, economic, and social issues. Not necessarily for lack of trying, but because I feel like there are many different like levels of like analysis of politics that you can be on, especially depending on who you're with, like sort of more normal people who are a bit less engaged with politics, or the average kind of relatively young kind of engaged, they might vote in every election, versus like terminally online people, a bit like us, a bit like you, a bit like some of the names you mentioned, who really live and breathe politics. And so trying to explain, especially, trying to explain who you are, especially with terms which come with a lot of pre-baggaged, like loaded terminology and emotive connotations that might get people upset or sort of really angered at you, it's very difficult. But I'd say I'm on the side of freedom, generally speaking. That is a vague platitude, but again, that is a vague opening, as in that you did give to me there. But
the funny thing there, though, is both sides would agree with that. Both sides would say, "Oh, but I'm also on the side of freedom."
Well, that is true, but like once you interrogate them, especially extremists, they end up their belief in so-called freedom isn't sincere. It is insincere, and it conceals very dark and authoritarian motives. So, like, if you...
Oh, yeah. I just thought it was interesting to bring up.
Yeah, that is very interesting. And very relevant to the discussion. But yeah, I'd say on some level I also agree when you talk about, like, oh, I'm right on, like, political issues, but left on social issues. I wouldn't maybe use those terms precisely, but I do come to a conflict with a lot of names you mentioned as like ostensibly on the right over some issues to do with like culture.
And again, with me, it's often yeah, exactly. It's like the best example. So you know what? I'll show off the best way to show off what my politics is. Let's talk about my blocks on Twitter. Right. So to my actually, I have a list of it in a server. Give me a moment. Yes. Here we go. So let's talk about my blocks on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go for all the left wing first. That's generally the more entertaining, and then we actually get to more philosophical and interesting things when we sway off to the right.
Any centrist blocks?
It depends on what you define as centrist. That's the thing, and that's what's interesting. Would you describe Peter Hitchens as being a centrist?
Sorry, who?
Peter Hitchens.
I would not... again, trying to boil down politics into one left-right dichotomy is very difficult. You can do it, but without defining what you mean, it's very difficult. So I'd say no, he's not a centrist. But, again, that's fraught with difficulty. Like, in legitimate ways, you could call him a centrist, but I think in a bog-standard way, no, he isn't.
Yeah. Also, Mike Graham, I'd say he's actually quite centrist. In a similar way to me, actually, in that he just has quite a few opinions, and they're just that different from each other. So, if we go with the left wing, because that's always more like laugh at it, and then we get to more actually think about it on the right. So the left wing, Carl Smallwood is a guy on YouTube who I actually really enjoy his content, and I like his content a lot of it is because I like liking his content, because I know it would piss him off if he knew that I really enjoyed his content. Because he's the kind of guy who will sit in front of the camera and go, if you're a right-winger, if you're racist, alright, I don't want you watching my videos. That's a terrible accent. That's a terrible impression of his voice. But he genuinely, I think it would cause him great upsetness to know that I enjoy his videos despite the politics that I have.
But I mean, it's a shame that he has you blocked, because then he'll never be able to see, and he'll never be able to cope, see, and dilate.
Maybe he will if I ever become big on YouTube. Maybe.
One day.
One day. But basically, he blocked me because a long time ago, he was doing some kind of Q&A on Twitter, and I think someone had said to him, can I still be friends with someone if they have different politics to me? And his answer was essentially no. And I kind of quietly chimed in and went, I think that's a bit, not a great message to push. And I think that he looked at my Twitter and then freaked the fuck out. Called me a racist and then blocked me. Or something to that effect. I think he saw that I'd been like retweeting Sargon or something to that effect.
Yeah, automatic racist.
It was probably something. I wish I could find it. But it was so long ago. I don't quite know how to like really Google the archives of Twitter. If you give me a moment, I could try.
A few hours later.
Here we go. Okay, so someone asked him, can you be friends with someone if you don't totally agree with them politically? And his response was, no. Politics isn't a hobby or some shit. It is literally life and death to some people. Being able to simply ignore a person's politics is a sign you're in a laughably privileged position, and as such, shouldn't use that to care more, not less. Fuck people who don't. My response there was, yikes. Politics doesn't have to be life and death, it could literally just be an opinion on taxes. Not every political opinion is, I think women don't deserve equal rights. But alright, keep dividing people, that'll make the world a better place. Agreeing to disagree is a thing.
And then blocked.
And I'm checking. Okay, so I think he quote tweeted me and then deleted that quote tweet. So I technically can't find his response, and that's really annoying. That's really not. I can't remember precisely what he had said at the time, but I think it was something to the effect of, I went through your timeline, and you are bad man. Block.
Zen man bad. Zen man
bad.
Bonk.
Hello, Zen from the future here. I think tabbing back and forth between two accounts screwed me over when I was live researching. So I did actually find what he'd quote tweeted. He didn't delete it. And I was right. Oh, Christ.
Seems like the kind of person who would confuse or conflate like an average person's just opinions on something with the actual power of the state to like manifest ideologies into, you know, actual policies. Right, well, if you believe in X, Y, and Z, therefore X, Y, and Z will happen. Or whatever.
Well, again, the funny thing is that, like, literally using, like, what I was saying earlier as an example, like, I disagree on politics with everyone to some level. I mean, you and I disagree quite a bit, but we still get along as friends.
Do we,
like, because...
or we like frenemies, constantly doing battle?
Well, I mean, that will make this podcast very interesting. If that is the case, if that is definitely our dynamic, that's going to make this podcast very fun. So
yes.
let's go to the other block, which is Shoe on Head. I need to find her.
Oh, you got blocked by Shoe on Head. That's like I remember that meme of like, you know, Patrick Bateman and they're looking at the sort of business cards, like but the editors of like sort of bread tuber blocks, and then like the ultimate one is Shoe on Head. It's like, my god.
So I'm not quite sure what got me blocked from her, but I've clashed with her a lot on Twitter, which is hilarious. I think it was when the Sargon drama happened at the end of last year.
Oh yes, that.
Wait, no, sorry, that was a different time. No,
Was it? No,
shit.
was it Dev?
No, it wasn't. Okay, no, sorry, I found a different example of me arguing with someone about it. Give me a second. I need to find her actual Twitter, and then I need to, like... I can't use Twitter to find these comments, to find these interactions. Oh my god, Shoe1Head has a big label on her Twitter that says use caution when engaging with this user.
Oh,
what the fuck is this?
Oh, that was circulating the rounds like a while back. It's not like...
What is this meme?
I think it's like a joke. That's meant
Wait,
to
no, it's a newsletter.
Yeah, it's
that's
a newsletter.
meme. Okay.
So
Fuck.
people
I
thought
thought
it was like...
I thought that was an actual thing.
Yeah, people thought like the FBI actually had like marked her as like a sort of...
Well, I wouldn't say it was the FBI. I wouldn't assume that, but I would assume that she'd fucked up on something.
Well, but that's, you know, if you fuck up and then like, you know, the FBI logo is there, you know.
I can't tell what got me blocked by her. That's the thing. I can't find what got me blocked by it. It was something last year, but I think she might have deleted the original tweet, which she does a lot. That's going to annoy the crap out of me. But she blocked me for something.
I wonder if she's deleted all her pro-Biden tweets from 2020.
I wouldn't be surprised. You know what? That probably was what it was, actually. Something to do with Biden. Hang on. If I search through the Discord... and I just search for the amount of times I've said shoe.
A few hours later.
Oh, it was right to healthcare bullshit. That's what it was.
Oh, yes.
So I was trying to explain to people in her replies that, you know, this is how a right works, and this is how a right doesn't work. And, you know, shocking take, if you have to deprive someone of something... if you have to compel someone to do something for your right to exist, it's not a right.
Well, I mean, I think I might have chimed him as well, and, like, technically it would be... Well, because the word right, especially, again, this is the issue with definitions, which we might get into more in another episode, but it kind of has different meanings, so, and people conflate the sort of two meanings, which is an issue. You can have rights in a general sense, which includes stuff like liberties, but also rights in a more stricter sense, which is, like, what people think of when they say a right to healthcare, like a positive right, or I should be allowed to have something. But what that means is that implies a duty in someone else. Someone else must provide that right for you. And so,
yes,
obviously, like, you know, healthcare is like, well, you have to have doctors and people. They are forced to work for you, so forth. So yeah, rights and duties, they go together in that sense.
Yeah, I can't find this, so she must have deleted the original tweet, basically, because it got too spicy, which is very Shoe1Head. Once again, Future Zen here with the benefit of patience while looking things up. Here you go. There. This was all it was. It wasn't that much, but apparently that was block-worthy enough, which is hilarious. Yes. So when we get to the other ones, we can get a lot more interesting, because they won't have deleted those. Actually, AA might have. We'll get to the other entertaining one, because it's the more centrist ones where it gets interesting about the politics. But, AA, I got blocked by AA twice. The first one we do not speak of.
No comment.
The first time I got blocked by AA, we do not speak of that. Because that was me just trolling him.
We do a little trolling.
The second time was about the Abgate, I
Yes.
believe. It was a little bit after Abgate, and I think he started, like, whinging that I was punching right, or something like that.
Well, I think it was more... Yeah, and, like, kind of... I think you were blocked for the Abgate thing. I was also blocked because I was associated with the dreaded Tory boys and their Wince Tory agenda.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's the whole, like, punching right. You can't criticize people who are, quote-unquote, more right and better than you, because that undermines us. Like, okay, alright, calm down, mate.
Apparently Dev was fighting him about it at the same time. Interesting.
He got involved, so, like, he slowly but surely got involved because, like, obviously Dev and Zar got involved. They knew of AA before them, but, like, you especially were sort of drip-feeding, like, kind of info about AA is going off the deep end, he's doing this, he's saying that, he's blocking people left, right, and centre, and, yeah, so...
That's it, okay, I found the reply that got me blocked. Okay, because Mr. Cavalier actually posted a link to it, so God bless him. I said to him, "You are so cringe, it is beyond belief. Liking women who are in healthy shape is evil. You got it, buddy. Time to go commission art of you lusting over fatties.
A bit facetious, but it is funny, so...
Oh, wait, I think that's a... I think I was... No, okay, wait! He got his account suspended? When did that happen?
Oh, I don't know, I think it...
Does he have a new account now because of that?
Well, he recently changed to Radfem Dead Name or something. I don't know if he got suspended.
Yeah, he's suspended! He's suspended!
Oh, I think I might have recorded that, but I just sort of blanked that out because I was busy.
Bruh! I didn't know about that. That's funny as hell.
AA posting his L's online.
Are you really posting your own L's when you've... when you get suspended?
Well, that
or
is
not someone giving
big
you an L?
We are gathered here.
It is an L.
It's a
but
W. It's a
that's
W
you
for us,
posting
an
it.
L for him.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say he's posting his L's. If he
That's
starts
just the
sharing
name.
that
That's
he's
just the
been
joke
suspended.
name for accounts like what Biden voters posting their L's online.
Yeah.
Like she is
Right.
actually featured quite a number of times on that account.
But basically, annoys me when it comes to like really superficial things. And those are the ones I always poke at him, because the thing is I'm not going to argue with a man who defends a guy who literally refers to himself as a super fascist. There is no common ground there where I can. It is like debating with a literal Nazi. It's actually quite hard to debate with them when they are on that level of different, like standards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean it is possible, but it does really get difficult.
So there's not much I can... so basically, I poke fun at him more for the cultural stuff, which I feel much more comfortable actually arguing with him, and then I leave it to people like Harrion to actually poke at him about, like, policies and legal stuff.
Yeah, and super fascist Evola doctrine.
Yeah. But, right, okay, so I've found... Okay, so here's one of the more interesting ones. So a gentleman called Mike Graham, who people listening may not be aware of him. He is a... People were describing as a right-wing... But I think he's more centrist. The problem is that because all of the culture in Britain is left-wing, anyone who's not that looks like a right-winger. But basically, he was... here we go. Right. He was stating that people who are considered racist should be stripped of their ability to do things in sort of capitalism, basically.
Yeah.
They should not be allowed to have a bank account, they should not have ability to travel, they shouldn't have a passport, they shouldn't have benefits.
And I've got a plan. The time has come to not only find these people, not only to prosecute them for their lawless behaviour, but also basically to excommunicate them from our society. So forget about locking them up, forget about throwing away the key, forget about banning them from football stadiums, right? I've got a better idea. Instead, let's make it impossible for them to actually have a life. No bank account, no ability to travel, no passport, no benefits, nothing. Forget kick it out. Let's kick them out. We don't need them. Britain doesn't need them. Adios, amigos. And you don't like it because I've said that in Spanish.
They should be removed from society.
Pretty much.
Cleansed from society, if you will.
Yeah. So, the Secretary of Akkad started lightly sparring with him on Twitter about this.
Yeah, I remember this.
And Mike Graham actually found him regarding, responded. They got into a fight regarding it through, like, a thread, basically. And let me scroll down. Ah, here we go. So this guy was like, but Mike Graham literally went and who are you? Who are you, Mr. Irrelevant? I don't even know who you are. And it's like, what a gotcha, Mike. He identifies himself, I work for the Lotus Eaters, we do podcasts about politics, and he goes, so you work with the idiot Akkad, who couldn't get elected in an election that anyone could have gotten elected in. And I just kind of leaned in and just went, yes, it's so easy to get elected when the entire arm of the media comes down on you, and you've been a public figure for years with a lot of quotes to take out of context. Why don't you run for office, Mike? See how that goes for you. And then he just goes, that's not what I do. And I don't think he... Okay, once again, there's a quote tweet on my tweet.
Yeah.
But it goes nowhere. So I think he had deleted that when he realised it looked really bad. But I think he basically went, lol, your name has virgin in it, when I'm like, that's the joke.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Something to that effect. The return of Future Zen. Yes, Twitter just kind of hides quote tweets if you're trying to find them. It's kind of infuriating, but yeah, this is it.
His comments are just, like, incorrect as well. Like, I mean, the 2019 European election was one where the Conservatives, for example, you know, the biggest party in the UK, the one that's called most successful ever, you know, is usually in government, they were absolutely destroyed and they came 5th in a national election. That, like, such terrible results had never happened in, like, a century or whatever. And, you know, so if it was an election anyone could win, then why were they so completely destroyed? And Labour also did poorly. It's just, and in just any European Parliament elections, like, independents don't usually win. Are they bad? It's like, what is he saying? I think someone else might have said, coming about one of the, like, old New Labour types who tried to run for Change UK, and they didn't win because Change UK also flopped in that election. So, are those figures politically bad, even though they have a lot of experience and they had successes in the past? Like, what does that mean? Like, what did he mean by this?
Really makes you think. What did he mean by this? So that's... So now we have the original, like, high-profile Zen block, which was Peter Hitchens. The great Peter Hitchens, where basically he was campaigning on the thing of get rid of scooters.
Yes. E-scooters, the menace to society.
And I can't find where... I'm positive... I can't find where he eventually snapped and blocked me, but he blocked me because we just bickered over it, basically. Because he was... yes, the golden line which I absolutely adore. You may be a fool or just uninformed, but don't advertise it too wildly. And I'm just sat here like, bruh, that's my entire brand.
It is your entire brand.
But yes, essentially there's currently like a running thing in the UK. If people aren't aware, if we've got Americans listening, people want e-scooters, which are electric scooters, to be a potential thing on the roads as a kind of halfway point between bicycles and cars, essentially.
Yeah, another form of sort of transportation for sort of shorter distances.
And since they're electric, it does cut down on pollution. They're essentially just a motorized bicycle, really, is the way I see it. But with that don't burn petrol, so they're generally quite good. They're generally good for the environment. I mean, better than like, you know, an actual like scooter that you need a driving license to get. You know, them ones.
Oh, I guess, yeah, just like a motorbike.
And a lot of right-wingers leaned in and went, oh no, this is bad, because right-wingers have this weird thing where they fucking hate bicycles. I'm not entirely sure why.
I think this issue is a little bit nuanced, because I do see like signs and stuff from like shops that say don't bring e-scooters in, and I think again there's this difference between like more normal people versus terminally online people, like the kinds of people you're talking about. So and Hitchens
no, well, this is the thing. One of them that I bring up is Mike Graham, who has gotten really pissy about bicycles.
Okay, bicycles are a little bit different because there's also, I mean, there's that issue. There's e-scooters, bicycles, they kind of overlap. You know, people in general, regardless of their politics, don't like, some of them don't like cyclists because of their attitude and clogging the roads and stuff, but others defend them, like cycling. I don't think that's really left or right. E-scooters, that whole thing is like people that are terminally online, like the people we've talked to, really do seem to just like come up with very weird arguments against them and kind of betray a very distorted sense of morals or whatever. Just like, I want them banned because one person died, but they won't ban cars because cars are useful, and that excuses the like tens of thousands of people that die in car accidents. It's useful, therefore it's okay. It's like, alright, Jesus.
Yeah.
I hate utilitarianism, but...
But my utilities are quite useful, so...
Yeah, checkmate.
But yeah, I think you get a good broad picture of who I am based on the blocks that I have. So, is there anything you can use for that for yourself, Vicar?
I don't think I've been blocked by a lot of people, so I can't really use that, and I don't know, but I guess...
To a degree, I think that actually does represent you quite well. You kind of like to sort of like stay in the background and more just kind of like passively observe and offer commentary, but without being quite as confrontational as I do.
Yeah, fair enough. I try and do that, like, in person and, like, online as well. I mean, it's not like I don't shy away from arguments or confrontations, but I think this was even noted by, like...
You don't seek them out to the level that I do.
Yeah, but I think, this was noted by, like, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, like, they sort of said, you know, like... Words to the effect of, like, you know, no one was ever, like... had their minds changed in a political argument or whatever, like, between two people actually fighting, or, like, it's the sort of worst way of trying to convince people.
No, yeah, that's true. Well, isn't that the thing, is when two people debate, neither of them is going to change the other's mind. It's for the people who are watching the two debate.
Yeah.
That is the purpose.
Yeah, it's very rare that you're going to convince the other, like, actual person speaking against you. It's more for the audience's benefit.
Yeah.
I think Benjamin Franklin was noted as being, like, the kind of person who wouldn't sort of, like, argue with people. He'd just sort of sit back and, like, listen to the arguments. He'd ask questions to people, a bit like Socrates used to do, where it was like, you know, to sort of tease out and, like, find out what they sort of meant behind so-and-so, like, asking them questions rather than, like, directly attacking them.
Yeah.
I'm a bit diplomatic in that sense.
You are quite diplomatic, and I'm much more of a confrontation starter.
An aggressive negotiator.
I am. But yeah, do you want to talk about yourself in regards to kind of like the future in any way?
Another broad topic.
Well, that's the point of this first one. It's to get ourselves into the public eye, to introduce ourselves. So it is a bit broad, but...
Well, I mean, I guess, like, in terms of career, I suppose, you know, and, like, how that might relate to politics.
Pretty much.
I mean, yeah, I want to go into law, I want to become a lawyer, hopefully, like, become a barrister, because it's sort of, when I've done work experience for that, I really liked being a barrister, and, yeah, so my family has a history of, like, people becoming barristers, so, you know, I guess, continue that family tradition, and do something I'm good at, and also, I like. Hopefully I can pursue that and succeed in that way. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's just career-wise. And politics, I don't know, just keep observing things, maybe see if I can help out and volunteer with different campaigns or whatever.
So you don't really want to be a change leader. You want to kind of just help keep the pillars of society up. Really.
I guess it would depend on how things turn out. Like, I mean, I wouldn't want to actively seek or actively pursue, like, positions of power, because usually, if you're in that mindset, it's very likely that you're not going to be the best kind of person to lead if you're just like, I must obtain power. But, you know, to counter that, like, if you should have a sense of duty in a sense, and so if something does need radical change or something needs to be fixed or stopped imminently, then, like, I guess, you know, I would try to, you know, be available or see what I could do to help that in that way.
Yeah. I suppose on my side of that, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a police officer, you know, eventually be a detective and be able to just, you know, it was a very childish thing of, I want to stop the bad men. I am the archetypical kind of like the kids in My Hero Academia who are like, when I grow up, I want to be a hero. Which was, it's simple, but it's the kind of people that you need in society. The problem is the way that British society has gone in the last decade has really made me go, I don't want to be a police officer in Britain. I think it really kickstarted because I was in college during Brexit.
Yeah.
And that's the time where people really need to think about kind of like their future and do they want to look into things. And
yeah.
That was when the Count Dankula stuff started kicking off, and that you started realizing that that's the culture that we're living in. And I remember that I had one day where I looked at that and I said, I can't be a police officer, because if my sergeant or whoever walks up to my desk and says, I need you to go and arrest this guy because he said some naughty things on Twitter, I am going to look him in the eye and tell him to go fuck himself.
Probably wouldn't end well.
And it's only now that I've grown older and I've gotten more contemplative, I've realised I shouldn't have given up on that. Not because I would have ignored that, but because the police service needs people who will look at him and tell him to go fuck himself.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but I guess all these institutions need...
You know, if all the good men quit on principle, all that's left is the bad men who don't care about principle.
Yeah, there's that issue. So you need
The last
to be in there.
and the last couple of years have really proven that all that are left in the police is people without principles.
Yeah, I think in a lot of our institutions, just full stop.
Yeah. So these days, I kind of I'm on the sidelines, but you know, I've always viewed myself as being kind of like a leader. I kind of have that kind of like attitude to myself, you know, personality traits. I kind of am a bit, you know, I'm loud. I bring attention to myself. It's how I am. It's how I've always been.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see a future where I become an MP of some kind, but I know for a fact that I'm gonna be a fucking weird one if that ever happens, because I'm never gonna toe to any party line.
I don't think you have many options then. It's going to be very difficult.
Well, that's the thing. But in my opinion, that's the problem with parties these days. Is that they're so flat and just obey the party. And we've seen how that's gone wrong in the last couple of years.
Wow.
And I see a future.
I see a future
where...
Zen-chan 2022.
Oh god, I have a dream. I have a dream where politics is made up not of a political majority, but a large collection of political minorities.
Doesn't that make a majority then? I don't...
No.
Yes.
I'm saying that there is no majority government. It is a bunch of small parties where they all actually have to talk to each other and reach compromises.
Well, so Dan, we talked about this before. There's a problem that other countries already do this idea of coalitions all the time, and they do not produce like these very liberty-minded governments that you're thinking of, like Germany, for example, and Austria.
Isn't it Ireland who have that? And because of that, nothing ever gets done. I'm like, yes, that's the politic. That's the government that I want.
Well, so yes, that's true, but the issue is that
I think it's Ireland.
Like you know, popular programs like Yes Minister, Yes Prime Minister, its successor, and the thick of it, a lot of government. Well, I should say a lot of like political work is not done necessarily by the sort of politicians, like the elected people. It's the sort of bureaucracy. So, you know, a lot might not get done, but you still have the issue of like, well, what they can agree on will just pass through with flying colours regardless, and then the civil servants will just implement those decisions. And it's like, well, there's regulations that will say you have to arrest people for hate speech. That still goes through. So a coalition of people that's not going to stop any of that.
Maybe not. I don't know. It's a classic
I don't disagree
problem that
with,
is
like,
just
with party whips and that sort of issue. Those issues like having their downsides. Just that I don't think just mandating like coalitions of smaller parties or having proportional representation will solve the problem necessarily.
Yeah, maybe not, but it's all I got. That's the thing. The current system isn't working, so I had to think up something.
None of our systems are working.
Doesn't feel like it. But yeah, I don't really have many plans. I mean, one thing I had said was that I wouldn't mind working for something like the Lotus Eaters. The next time they're advertising for a content creator, I'm definitely going to put my name forward.
Yeah, when they expand and have a northern office, you can be like whatever. Yeah,
I've already said I wouldn't mind moving down to Swindon.
Yeah, you've said that. I was just like, you know, not being facetious. That's the wrong word.
But I would like I would much like it would be the perfect setting if I could stay up in the north. Well, one thing I'd said was the absolute perfect position for me with them would be if they ended up hiring a on-the-ground reporter, which would mean that I wouldn't necessarily have to live in Swindon because I'd be going across the country constantly.
Yes.
So they'd likely be paying for my travel. So I could just, you know, stop in at Swindon to write articles, or more realistically, I'm constantly going across the country to locations to do bits for them.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going home at the end of the day. Oh, I'm going home at the weekend. But they're like, obviously they need to be so much bigger than they are right now because they need to be funding like constant train tickets and hotels and such for me. I don't think that'll be anytime near now, but it's the point where they would become a genuine news channel. rather than just being, people online like a Timcast type thing.
Rather than
that
just
is
a
their
podcast.
next level. That is their next level, and I would love to be their on-the-ground reporter when they become that level.
Yeah.
But until then, I would be more than happy to move to Swindon and just work for them down there.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a big change because I live in the north.
Yes.
And Swindon would be the absolute opposite kind of town to live in.
Almost.
Pretty much. But yeah, I don't have too many plans for the future. I'm one of those guys who's like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm keeping my options open, which people also say I'm not doing anything.
I mean, you have some plans, so that's something, you're subsisting fine-ish, so that's something at least, better than a lot of people.
Yeah. But yeah, that's us. Welcome to All Around the Campfire. This is going to be our podcast going forward. We want to have more kind of like thoughtful and laid-back conversations. We've got a couple plans for in the future, but one thing I really want to do is try and platform. I say platform, it's going to be me leeching off of bigger content creators. I want to pull bigger people just to sit down at the campfire and chat.
You said this is a campfire, but, like, I haven't got any marshmallows. I haven't got a comfy blanket.
Get yourself some marshmallows.
Well, I thought they would be provided. Like, that's the whole point of a campfire that you organised. It's false advertising. I will use my legal expertise to sue you for damages.
I made absolutely no promises. What I said was we're going to sit down and talk.
Oh, trust me, I have the receipts.
Any implications?
I have the receipts.
Oh dear, I'm arguing with a lawyer. This is where it goes bad. But yeah, we'll be back at some point in the future with a current plan for a proper episode 1 is we want to have a debate on morality and what it is, like at a fundamental level.
Yes.
So that was very much the starting idea for these podcasts. That's how I pulled Vicar in. That's how I interested him.
Yes.
So you can look forward to that in the future. If you guys have any more interesting ideas on kind of like more fundamental things in politics, society, drop down in the comments. Let us know what you want to hear us chatter about.
Yes.
I doubt we'll get much response on that. Right now, we probably still need to find our groove before people figure out, what they want from us. But, if you think of anything you'd like to hear us talk about, feel free to whack it in the comments, and we'll definitely consider it.
Yes, we'll definitely consider it. And for anyone who might be watching, just to let you know, Zen is always wrong.
Of course.
Yes.
If you want to go and tell me how wrong I am, and you don't like commenting on YouTube, you think it's a bit too detached, I'm on Twitter at NightclubVirgin is the current name. That may change in the future. I don't know. That name bounces around. But there'll always be a link somewhere, whether it be in the description or it'll be on the actual channel itself.
Good.
Do you want to shill your Twitter, or do you want to keep your Twitter separate?
Well, I don't have anything really to shill. I guess, I think my handle is, for my Twitter account is, Stedman18James, but, all just one word, capital S, capital J, but it's, it's not, I don't, again, as I said earlier,
I'll put images up on the actual podcast, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I don't create content, so, it's just, I sometimes retweet stuff, sometimes I'm replying to people, that's it, reply guy, whatever, and retweeter.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for being here, and you have a lovely rest of the day.
Yes. Take care.
Ta-da!